Okay, I'm going to show you how AccuLite works from a student sign-in perspective. I'll show you a brief glimpse of the back end of the software. Now, by the way, I have a detailed video on all of the setup options of AccuLite that you can view, but this is just a basic overview of how AccuLite works. Okay, so I'll sign in here as an administrator, and an administrator are those would be the people that set up the back end of the software, run reports in the software, etc. The other group would be the students that are actually, or people, or attendees, or whatever the case may be, that you're trying to collect attendance for. Okay? All right, so I'll go ahead and sign in here as an administrator. And I'm going to show you some of the setup here for AccuLite very briefly. Now, on its most basic level, I'm just going to Options, Activity screen. But on its most basic level, you can merely collect the time that people come in and the time that people come out. Now, I did that by bypassing the activity screen here, and I'll talk about activities in a moment. But let's go ahead and return to the sign-in screen and enter some people IDs here, attendees, and you can see Karen Jones signed in at. Okay, here comes the next student. John Wayne has now signed in. Here comes the next person, the next attendee. Now, Doc Henning has signed in. So I'm collecting the sign-in period for those attendees. Now on the way out, that person would sign out and it would say Karen Jones signed out at, and it would log the period of time. Now I wasn't even in a whole minute, so it didn't record any time there. But anyway, students sign in, students sign out, or attendees or people. And the reason I use those terms is you can indeed change the terminology in the software. If it's not, they're not labeled as students, then you could call them something other than students. Anyway, the other thing too is, let's say someone forgets to sign out, we have rules on the back end that if they exceed a certain time, then we're going to just credit them with X number of hours or minutes as you specify. Okay. Now I can find out real quickly who's in here on the screen, so I can see all the people that are already signed in. I can show the people that are signed out. And these are the list of people in my database. You can import all that information. You can have the people enter themselves the first time they come in to the location, or you can enter them on the back end of the software. Okay. Now I'm going to log back in as an administrator, and let's change the options slightly. What I want to do here now is uncheck the Do Not Show. So it's a little double negative, I guess. But anyway, in other words, I want to show activities or classes or whatever I call them. Okay, I return to sign in. Let's do Karen again. And now you see I have a list of subjects and classes. The individual items, the classes, activities, if you will, are grouped under the top level subject area. So you see I have biology with a couple of biology classes in this case, some computer use subjects, and with English I have a couple of items, etc. So I'll just pick the item I want to sign into. And now Karen Jones has signed in for that English class. It's waiting for the next student. Here comes the next student. And let's say he's coming in for calculus. And now John Wayne is in. Okay? And I can find out in my who's in list who's here and who's not. There's John. Okay? Now, back in as administrator, the next option, if we'd like to enable capturing some additional information, we can also attach an instructor, a professor, someone who's overseeing that particular activity. So you can create that instructor list and assign them to the subjects. Now going back and looking here at classes, as we're calling them, right here I've got, and by the way, I keep saying classes and all kinds of different things, but I can go specify my terms for what I'd like them to be back here. Okay. Anyway, back to my classes. Here's what we were seeing when the students were signing in. Top-level subject, individual activities that appear underneath it. Now, if I click on, say, E&G 1101, you can see now I have an instructor assigned to that particular class. So I can do that. I can turn that on or off. However, I'd like to collect that attendance at sign-in. Okay. Now, all of this is reportable. I go into my reports, and I can do a visit by class report, for example. It shows me all of the various people that have signed in for the various things that they pick. So biology, English. Now, if I didn't have them pick anything, I could just do visits by student. And you can see I have some nones here. None means they didn't pick a class or a subject at sign-in. Okay. The other thing too, any of these reports I can show a detail or summary report. So we already showed the detailed report with a lot more information. If I do a summary view of that same report, well, I'm only seeing the number of people that have signed in for the various subjects here. So 2 under my English subjects, 1 under my math subjects, total number of visits, total number of hours. Okay, now any of these reports can also be exported directly to Excel. So I would merely click the export data. I can save it as different file formats, like a comma separated file would be good if you wanted to import it into something else, for example, or directly open that report in Excel. So when I do that, it opens it right here in Excel, and I'm seeing that same data in my spreadsheet. Okay. The other item here would be I can filter reports. So let's say I want to see visits by class, but I only want to show it for a particular person. I can do so. For a particular subject, I can do so. So I only want to see my math. I show that report, and it only shows me math. And I can do combinations thereof. So show me all the students that signed in for math, but only show it if the student is, what's a good one? John Wayne, right here. So there you go. John Wayne signed in for math. The other thing I can filter on, and I can import this data as well, are student groups. So you can create a group of like-minded individuals, name it whatever you'd like, and then you can filter your reports based on that particular group of people. Okay? So that is basically how AccuLite works. You're collecting attendance at sign-in, collecting whatever information you'd like to collect. Once all that information is gathered, then you go run a series of reports in order to evaluate that data. Okay? And that's it. Okay, thank you.